Welcome to the solution video for the birthday challenge. Let's start off with a console application since this is just for logic. It's not really for the UI portion of things, and console is just fine. So we'll call this the birthday challenge. We'll call it the birthday challenge solution. Hit OK. And once this gets created, we can now add in at the bottom console.readline at the end. All right, so what do we need to do first? Well, I think first we need to establish a birthday to work from. So let's declare a birthday. So let's say date time birthday equals date time dot, oops, back that up, new date time, and they put in the year first. So let's start with 2011, and the day, we're using if you see the overloads here, we're actually using this overload right here, number 4, which is int year, int month. I should have put it in int, not in quotes. Year, so month is going to be, let's put it at April, and the day is going to be the 23rd. All right, so that's our birthday to work from. Now let's figure out manually the years at least. Okay, so today's date is March 11th, 2019. So this is April 23rd of 2011. So the difference in years is 8 years, but not quite, okay, because it's April. So we haven't quite gotten to 8 years yet, which means it's going to be 7 years. Now, if we count months, it would be 7 years times 11 or 12 months, which is 84, plus 11 more months because we're 1 month shy of April. Therefore, we're at 95 months. And then the days, we're going to get close. We don't know exactly, and that's okay. We'll get close and say that we are, let's see, 23 minus 11 is 12 days, so 12 days shy of 8 years. So if I get the calculator out, let's open that up, and what I'm going to do is do 365 times 8 years minus the, what do you say, 12 days? The 12 days is 2,908, but then we have to figure in the fact there's leap year in a couple of those years. And those years are 2012 and 2016. So we're going to have to add in 2 more years, or 2 more days, I'm sorry, to our total, which gives us 2,910 days. It's always good to have a baseline to work from so that you know if you're right or if you're not, if you're getting close or not, and if maybe you've missed something. This one right here, the days, we might be off by a day, depending on how we count today. And 95 months is right, but we have to figure out that we're rounding it correctly. And 7 years is correct because we're rounding down. So I think we're prepped now to start creating some methods. Let's say private static void. And the first one we want to do is how many years old. We're going to pass in a date time called birthday. And this is going to calculate how many years old a person is. Then we're going to create another one. Private static void how many months old and pass in the date, time of the birthday. Whoops, not date, time again. Birthday, there we go. And I can actually just copy this. Makes it a little simpler. And then how many days old. So now I have these three methods that will satisfy our main goal. So let's start with how many years old a person is. And this is the simplest one, I think. But at the same time, it'll be a little bit complex. So we could do a date time dot subtract. The problem is that only gives us days. It doesn't give us months or years. So to get months and years, let's start with years. We're going to first get now. So let's start with date time. We'll call it just now equals date time dot now. That gives us today, which is March 11th, 2019. Next, what we need is we need to know how many years are difference between the birthday and now. We can say int years equals now dot years, our year, minus birthday dot year. So what that's going to do is going to take 2019, which that's what this year is, and it's going to subtract 2011. So that's going to give us 8. But the problem is it's only 7, not 8. And the reason why is because we have not yet gone beyond the birthday month and day. So what we need to do is identify if we're past that date or not. So let's start off with a month. If today's month, so now.month, is less than birthday.month, then we're going to say years minus equal 1. That subtracts 1 from the year. So if the month, which in this case is 3, is less than the birthday month, 4, then we subtract a year off because they have not yet gotten into or past the birthday month. But we're not done quite yet. Because if now.day, let's say, now.month equals birthday.month, and now.day is less than birthday.day. Then years minus equal 1. Now you see what I did there? It's not if the months are equal, so if this month is 4 and this month is 4, then it would not have subtracted a year. But if it's April 1st and the birthday is April 23rd, then it's still not quite yet the birthday. So if the month equals the birthday month and the day of today is less than the birthday day, then we haven't gotten there yet. Therefore, subtract a year from their age. And then finally, return years. And that returning years, not return year, we're going to print it out. So you are years old. And we're going to put our $sign before it so we can actually have that string interpolation. So you are this many years old. And it's, in this case, going to be 7. Let's just prove that's correct before we go any further by saying how many years old and passing in the birthday. And then doing, of course, our read line at the end. So let's run this. And it says you are 7 years old. Let's change that default to something much higher. All right, and let's try it again. Make sure we actually have a readable screen. Okay, you are 7 years old. So that's working correctly. Now, we're going to throw a few more dates against it just to make sure that we feel comfortable with the fact it's working correctly. But for now, let's call that one good. How many months old? This one's a little more tricky because we can't just do a month subtraction because of the fact that, well, our month is 3 and the birthday month is 4, so 3 minus 4 is -1, and that doesn't help us any. And it doesn't tell us, well, they're actually 7 years old, almost 8, but 7 years and 11 months. So how do we determine how many months old they are? And this is where I'm actually going to start refactoring because I really want to know how many years old they are, because then we just find out how many months left beyond those years, which means I need to return an int here, not a void, and I do need to cut this out and return years. And then here I can say int years equals, and then right afterwards print out those years. So doing this will allow me to then call that down here. So let's grab, first of all, the now time. So I'll grab that, and then I'll grab the years equals how many years old, pass in that same birthday, and that gives me how many years old they are, which is 7. But we still want to go beyond that and get how many months, which we know that it's 7 years and 11 months because we are in March and that's 1 shy of April. So we'll do the math on the number of years in a minute. Let's say int months equals, I'll just say years times 12. So 7 times 12 is 84. That gets us our starting point. Now, if now dot equals 15 minus 4. That's 11. That gives us a number of months left. Okay, so we've added that to our total. Now we're doing an else here. So else months plus equals now dot month minus birthday dot month. So if we're at or beyond the birthday month, we're going to add, let's say this is May. So 5 minus 4 is 1. So we'll add 1 month to their total. Now we can change this to type int and return our months. That's how many months old you are. So let's copy this code right here and say int months and say months and months. So that should say that we're 95 months old. Let's find out. 7 years or 95 months. Yep, that's correct. All right, let's go ahead and tackle the last one, which is this is for the basic challenge. That's going to be how many days old. So let's actually copy this. We have it. And we're going to say days. And we'll change this to days. And days. And days. And change the return to int. Days. Now our estimate was 2,910. Let's see what we get. And we get 2,879. So we're off by a few days, quite a few days. So we're off by, let's just calculate it, 31 days, which seems like an odd number. And here's where my guess comes in here. So we're off by 31 days, which is a full month. In fact, it's the month of January is 31 days, as are quite a few of the other months. But we're on, let's just stop this. We're on April 23rd here, and today is March 11th. So we're not quite a full month in. In fact, we are, let's see, we're 12 days short of a full month. Well, we said 95 months, but it's really 94 months and 12 days. So it looks like we counted one too many months and then add the 12 days as well. So we're actually a month too long. So that actually is correct. Our number is 2,879. So we were actually wrong in our calculation, and our code was correct. So we have now completed the challenge, the base challenge at least, and now you can move on to the bonus challenge. So let's create our methods for that. So how long it will be until the person's next birthday, private static int days until next birthday, date time, birthday, not date time, birthday, and then we'll do another one where we get the months, and that one we're going to round to the nearest whole number. So let's actually just copy this. So this is going to be months until next birthday. I didn't specifically say we had to do days until next birthday, but we're going to do it. Months until next birthday. Cool. And then we're going to also do number of weekends. So let's paste that in as well. This is number of weekends until next birthday. That's a long method name, but it gets the point across. Now I know for each of these, I have to calculate when the next birthday is going to be. So let's actually create another method down here. Private static date time get next birthday. Date time birthday. So that's going to give us the next birthday based upon a person's birthday. So date time, let's call it output, equals new date time. And we're going to do the same format, years, month, and day. So date time dot now dot year is this year. Well, actually, no, it's not. It could be this year or it could be next year. Because if the birthday was in January, it won't be this year, it'll be next year. So it'll be 2020, not 2019. So you got to figure that one out. So let's hold off on this. We'll actually put in here year, and then that's a placeholder. And then we'll say the birthday dot month and birthday dot day. So we got to calculate this year. And we'll start off by saying the year is the date time dot now dot year. However, what we'll next do is, let's actually store datetime.now. So datetime now equals datetime.now. That way we don't have to keep referring to it and getting that value. Again, we can just pull that value from a variable. So now.year. So that gives us our year. But if we're already past the birthday that you want next year. So if now.month is greater than birthday.month, which sounds awful familiar. In fact, we come up here to years old. If now.month is less than. So we're doing similar logic to this. We're just flipping it around. So if we're past the month, then we're going to say year plus equals 1. Now we're not done yet, because if now.month equals birthday.month and now.day is greater than or equal to birthday.day, then year plus equal 1. And the reason I said greater than or equal to, because you wouldn't want to say that you're 0 days away from your next birthday, because it's not your next birthday at that point, it's this birthday. So your next is always in the future. And if you say 0 days, that's not the future, it's now. So if today is your birthday, we're going to say it's 365 days until your next birthday. Although I believe that 2020 is a leap year, in which case it won't be, it'll be 366 days. We'll figure that out. So now we know the output. We have this date time of the new date based upon the month and day of your birthday or the person's birthday, and the year that's either this year if we haven't reached your birthday yet, or next year if we have reached and surpassed your birthday. Reached or surpassed your birthday. So that returns the get next birthday once we return it. Return output. So instead of writing this logic every time, we're going to be dry about it and do it once. And now we can just get that. So date time next birthday equals get next birthday, passing in the birthday. So I'll do that in all 3 of these so that I have it, because I'm going to need it in all 3. There we go. So now let's minimize these for a minute. And let's look at days until next birthday. Well, we're going to pull the same trick we did with how many days old. So let's say int days equals, we always want the higher value for our birthday or for our calculations. So next birthday dot subtract birthday. And we want the days, not total days. And now we'll return days. So now we've subtracted out the birthday. So we have our next birthday, we subtracted the birthday and gotten the days. So that should be the number of days until the next birthday. Now let's test this. Before I do, because we haven't tested in a little bit, and that's not a good thing. So let's do a throw new not implemented exception. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to put a value yet for my return on these two methods. I don't want to do a dummy value because I might forget about it. So this will not let me forget, but yet it allows the application to compile and allows me to use it. So we have days old. So now let's call the days until next birthday. Let's grab this and say days until birthday. Say Control J here, days until next birthday. Passing in the birthday. And we'll say there are days until your birthday. Okay, let's run this and see if we get a good value. And it says there's 2,922 days until your birthday. Well, that ain't right. Did something wrong here. Let's look at what. Well, here's the problem. So all right, so now let's move on to the next one, which is months until next birthday. So we have a lot of this logic already. So let's actually figure out how many months based upon using similar logic to this. So let's grab this logic right here and copy it. Now you may wonder why it's okay to copy and paste here. It sounds like a violation of dry, and it's not, because the logic is different and it has a different reason to change. So even if it looks similar, it's not really similar, and that's why. So birthday, and we want to get now as well. So date time now equals date time dot now. But instead of saying is now.month less than birthday.month, this is actually next birthday.month and now.month. Because we're flipping the script here. So next birthday is in the future. So therefore, if next birthday month is less than the current month, so if it's February, so that's 2, then we want to change this so that the next birthday month plus 12 minus now.month. And that's the int months. We'll start at 0. So we're going to add in, we'll just say equals, not going to say plus equal, because it's going to start at 0. So we're going to say, if this is February, then we're going to add 2 those two to 12. Let's make it 14 minus, this is March, so 3. So 14 minus 3 is 11 months. So February of 2020 is 11 months from now. Otherwise, next birthday month minus now.month. So in this case, in our case, April, this is April, so 4 minus our month is 3. We're 1 month away. But we're not quite done yet. And the reason why is because there is that bothersome little phrase in the challenge where it said round months to the nearest whole number. Well, that's a problem because what if we're less than a month away? How do you figure that out? So if are we 10.5 months or 10.4 months? How do you figure out the point here? And the way we're going to do this is a little fun. So what we're going to do is say int days in last month, which sounds odd. What we'll do is we're going to create some date times. And actually, let's create one right here. Well, we're going to look at April. So that's at month before. April, and then today's 11th, so April 11th. Now let's find the days between April 11th and May 15th to see if we're a full month away there or if we're less than, let's say, 15 days. So 15 days would be our cutoff, where if you're 15 or lower days, that's less than a month. Okay, so let's do our math here. So next birthday, subtract month, not months, month before next birthday, days. And you won't round this. So if days in last month is less than or equal to 15. So it's less than or equal to 15 days left in the month, then what we need to do is we need to subtract 1 from our months. Minus equal 1. And now that gives us our rounded months. So we can say return months. That's many months until your next birthday. So let's capture that as well. So this is, instead of days, it's months. And let's check this out and make sure that it works. It should say 1. There are 1 months until your birthday, which we can mess with that and put that in parentheses if you wanted to, but I think that works. So there's 1 month until your birthday. What that indicates is that we are over a certain number of days until, in this case, it's the 23rd and today's the 11th. So of course that's going to be, an indicator that yes, we're well within the time frame. I do wonder though, I'm not sure my calculation is totally correct. So let's just change this real quick. We're going to say tomorrow is my birthday. Let's run this again. And it says 0 days. Okay, that's correct because it's less than a day. There are 0 months. That's correct too. So it looks like everything is calculating properly. It's 84 months old. Yep. So it looks like it does, in fact, work the way you want it to. Let's change it back. I believe it's 23rd. Yep. So now, always verify your stuff, by the way. Test it a couple different ways. Don't just assume that if one test passes, that you're golden. Now let's figure out the number of weekends until your next birthday. This one is a little trickier and it's going to take some thinking through of the problem. Let's start off by doing the simple thing. And that is we can get the number of days until our next birthday. So int total days left. And we can just calculate that, passing in the birthday. And now we can get the number of weekends by saying, first, how many weeks are in the total days left. So total days left, which is an integer, divided by 7. And that, because it's an integer, divided by an integer, going into an integer, it's going to truncate any decimal. So if it's anything left after the decimal point, it's going to cut it off. So if you did 9 divided by 7, the result is 1, because those are integers, and so therefore the result is an integer, and it's 1, even if it's 13 divided by 7, which is almost 2, but it'd still say 1, because they're just cutting that off. So that gives us our number of weekends, but now we need to figure out if there's another one hiding in there. And that next one is how many days do we have left after those 7 days? Where are we in this week? And would that number of days get us to a weekend? Okay, so let's start by getting the int remaining days equals total days left modulus 7. Enter. And it puts in all the values. Because this is an enum, it's going to give me all the enum values, which Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now I could try and grab the enum number because Sunday is 0, Monday is 1, and so on. But first of all, it's kind of cheating. And second of all, I can't really trust that those values are going to stay 0 through 6. They will, but I'm not going to trust that. I'm going to calculate based upon what I know. So we're actually going to hard code this days until weekend value for each day from today. So days until the weekend, 0. Because we're on the weekend right now. Monday, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days until the weekend. Which means Tuesday, we'd have 4 days until the weekend. Wednesday, we'd have 3 days. Thursday, we'd have 2 days. And Friday, we'd have 1 day. And of course, Saturday is a weekend. Therefore, we get 0. So now that we know, and we'll leave the default as just break because it's set at 0. Now that we know where we're at, we should never hit default, by the way. If we hit default, we've got something seriously wrong. With our switch statement done, we now know the number of days until the weekend. So if the remaining days is, let's just write this down, if remaining days is less than or equal to days until the weekend, then we just say number of weekends plus equal 1, because we're going to hit one more weekend with that remainder. And now we can return number of weekends. And with that, we can come back up here. We can copy this. We can paste it and say number of weekends until birthday. That's a long variable name. Putting a breakpoint right at the switch. Okay, so now let's start inspecting our values. Our next birthday is April 23rd, 2019. So that's our next birthday. We have a total of 42 days left. We have 6 weekends. The remaining days is 0. Okay, so we have no more days left over, but right now days until the weekend is 0. The day of the week is saying it's Monday. Therefore, it should say days until the weekend is 5. Let's make sure it does. By stepping into this, days until the weekend is 5. A break. If remaining days, 0, is less than or equal to, that's my logic error right there. I should have said greater than or equal to. And that's the bug. Because days until weekend is 5, therefore it's adding 1 in. So I had the wrong sign here. Greater than or equal to. So if we have 5 days left until weekend. You have 5 days left over after we did our division. And the number of days until the weekend is 5, then that's equal. Therefore, we would get to the weekend. If we have 4 here and there's 5 days until the weekend, we're not going to get to the weekend. Therefore, we don't add 1. In our case, remaining days is 0. So unless we're in a weekend, we can't count a weekend. Well, days until the weekend is 5. So 0 is not greater than or equal to 5. Therefore, we don't add 1. And if we run it this time, whoops, we put a breakpoint here. Let's undo the breakpoint and hit continue. And it says there's 6 weekends until your birthday, which is correct. So that is how you do the birthday challenge and bonus challenge. It's actually kind of tricky, especially since you got to make sure that you calculate things and deal the remainders right and the rounding and all the rest. Honestly, birthdays and days, our dates are hard because we've got leap year, we've got different number of months in a month, or different number of days in a month. All these different complications that just make it difficult to work with. There is a library out there called Noda Time, N-O-D-A Time, that helps with a lot of this stuff. But I wanted you to try to do it because I wanted you to get your hands dirty in the logic of how you go about this. You can't always rely on somebody else's library to do it for you. Okay, that's it. The next thing I encourage you to do is run this test a few more times. For example, what if you put, let's go to 1900, so 1984, and let's do, I don't know, November 1st. Let's run it again and make sure it looks about right. There's 33 weekends until your birthday. Sounds about right because there's 8 months until your birthday. That's about right. And there's 234 days. You're 12,000 days old. You're 412 months old, and you're 34 years old. That all looks correct. And you can do it a few more times with different dates just to make sure that you're right. Now, there are calculators on the internet you can get that can do these calculations. So you can test them against that to make sure that your results are the same as the results you get with your calculations online. If you do get a difference, I would just encourage you to try a different calculator online just to make sure that they didn't make the mistake. But if you get two online that say the same thing and yours says something different, then it does look like you have a logic error at that point. Okay? So a little more complicated, a little more things to think through, but hopefully this challenged you and stretched you and maybe took what seemed to be a simple challenge and made it a little harder for you. Okay? Thanks for watching, and as always, I am Tim Corey.